Video 7. Addiction. I think this is the most important video yet, but I also feel like I say that for this at the start of each of the last videos. That's probably because I get all my ideas out into each video, and then now this is the most important thing I'm thinking about in my life. So, addiction. Why does this matter to you? Well, every single person is or will be addicted to something, right? I watched a video right before I slept, and it had a very good definition of the word addiction. And it was so good that I had to actually climb out of my bed and make this video, which is why I'm in the bathroom. So, addiction is the progressive narrowing of things that give you pleasure. We all have things that give us pleasure. Now, what are those things? Well, it's different for each person. I want you to ask yourself, stop this video and think, what gives you pleasure? Because likely that is what determines your life. It's pretty simple. For 99% of people, what gives you pleasure is what determines your life. And I'm not going to lie, parts of my life are 100% determined by what gives me pleasure. What I like to do is get pleasure from things that are healthy for me. And I made this habit a long time ago. Stuff like gym, stuff like healthy food, sunlight, and so on. It's very easy to get pleasure from things that are not so good for you. Stuff you can watch on the internet, sugary foods, scrolling on your phone. And to be honest, that scrolling habit is something most people get into. It's very, very dangerous, but I'll come on to that later in this video. Now, like I said, addiction is the progressive narrowing of things that give you pleasure. So you've heard the term mindfulness. You've heard the term meditation and gratitude, right? Gratitude, you want to be grateful for the little things. You've heard that term. Well, apply it into this context. If you're grateful for the little things, it means there are more things that will eventually give you pleasure. The more things you have, the less addicted you are to one particular thing. Now, obviously, things can give you pleasure in different levels, let's say. A cup of tea might give you this much pleasure, and your favorite meal in the world might give you this much pleasure, so on and so on. Okay? But the reason I'm talking about this is for your day-to-day. A lot of this content is simply for your day-to-day. So you might have a stressful life, you might be unhappy, and you might indulge in behaviors that basically release dopamine for you, pleasure-seeking behaviors. Now, if you always say yes to yourself when you're about to do this, it's quite dangerous. If you know scrolling is going to give you that tiny little bit of pleasure, you still do it, it's dangerous. Same with smoking, same with whatever, right? If we're giving ourselves pleasure without having thought about it beforehand, or without deserving it, etc., it's a very dangerous position to be in. Now, let's talk about scrolling. Scrolling is serious, okay? Scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you can be sitting there for hours. And I feel like everyone's at least guilty of this once. I would like to say that. You can sit there for hours and you don't leave this scrolling session feeling better. You often feel mind numb, I'd like to say. You feel numb. You just don't feel great. You need to learn to limit stuff like scrolling. You need to learn to limit things that give you this dopamine. And I'll also talk about what happens if you're overstimulated. I'll come on to that. So when I talk about these limits, you've seen that time limit thing on your phone. I don't know about you, but to me, that doesn't really work. I've had that and I just click whatever the option is to just continue, and I do. I don't think that works for me. But what does work for me is staying accountable. Something like a journal or something. I can look at my screen time at the end of the day. Now again, screen time, you can do screen time for Instagram specifically, or TikTok or Snapchat, whatever you use. Fair enough. Screen time as a whole, you might call your parents, you might be on FaceTime, you might do a bunch of things. I think music even counts. I don't know. Okay, so you can track it yourself. If you actually take the effort to track it yourself, you will care about it. Because you made the effort, you will see, 5 hours screen time on Instagram. That's not great. You'll be writing it down in your journal, and that's when you're going to feel bad. And the next day, you're going to try and make an effort. And then maybe you have to remind yourself 2-3 times in the day, but that's okay. If you're at 5 hours, get to 4, get to 3. Have an ideal goal. Realistically, 0 might be hard. Find a goal for yourself. It's different for everyone. If you want to make content, if you don't, so on. Anyways, what about if you're overstimulated? To be honest with you, I've been trying to make reels all day today. I feel overstimulated. Therefore, this topic is in my head. What to do? Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and I'll explain why. Right? So I'm going to bed now. It's probably going to take me a while to sleep due to this overstimulation. So I journaled. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to meditate. But like I said, just sit there. Simply sit there. If you're overstimulated, you need to not stimulate yourself more. Remove things from your environment. Don't have lots of moving stuff around you. Try and limit the noise. Try and limit all distractions if you can, as much as you can, right? Going to go to bed. When I wake up, I know I'm going to want to reach for my phone. Now, I don't have a bad habit of doing that, but I know this is going to happen tomorrow morning because I've literally been staring at a screen all day. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to have to reject that, and I'm going to feel, I know how this works. I'm going to feel a bit dull for about half an hour or so. What am I going to do instead? That's the key. Don't just remove something, do something else. So, going to wake up, going to feel dull, probably. Then I'm going to go on a walk. Hopefully it's sunny, it's London, so you never know. But I'm going to go on a walk. That's it. Just walk. No AirPods, no music. I don't even own AirPods. I just walk 30 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll see. Come back. Then I could sit down. Now, the video I watched, it was a small 5-minute video. I don't like to watch stuff for too long. It's funny enough. But that video, again, by Andrew Huberman, as I was saying, is telling you about the second half of your sleep. Is basically like therapy, trauma therapy it was talking about. You are processing everything that happened in your day-to-day, the emotional part of it in the second half of your sleep, which is why you need to sleep for 8 hours, or 7 to 9, let's say, right? You're processing that in the second half of your sleep. So when you wake up, don't fill your brain with other things. Everything you've processed, now let it come out and you'll eventually start thinking about it. Don't simulate yourself and those ideas or whatever it is will come out. The way this second half of sleep works, and I'm definitely need to do more research on this, is that you are re-experiencing whatever it is that you experienced for the first time. Someone bumped into you in the street, someone said something funny to you, you might even be some good things, you might re-experience them, whatever it is, you will likely re-experience it and think about it again. But the thing is, your body doesn't release adrenaline this time, right? So that second half of sleep is key, but the action I'm telling you to do besides sleep 7 to 9 hours is when you wake up, don't reach for your phone. How will you do this? By doing something else. Have a plan. Now, the days I was doing my 5 a.m.s, so I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and have a whole morning routine. You can watch the other video for this. Easiest thing in the world. Wake up, straight away to the gym. Get my walk in, get the sunlight in, everything, my water's packed in my bag, I'm fasted, I'm getting to the gym, it's perfect. That's not the exact goal I have today or tomorrow or for the next few days as I've come off this exam 2 days ago, but I can still have an idea of what I'm going to do in the morning, right? So have something ready. Now, the next thing I want you to do is understand it's a little bit of a process. If any of you have ever drank, then you would have had something called a hangover before. Now, I have drank and I don't drink too much and I haven't drank too much in my life, so I've never experienced a hangover. But you know how it works, is that you feel like a slump for probably the next day and some people last even a little bit longer. It's pretty similar with this. You will experience this overstimulation kind of drop. If you take... You will experience this kind of drop in emotion at the beginning and it might feel a bit dull. What you have to understand is you're basically evening the playing field. You're overstimulated right now. You want those dopamine receptors to basically calm down. You don't want to keep exciting them. You want them to calm down. Something you need to understand is often you might not be depressed, might not be sad. You might simply just be tired from overstimulation. And I think that's something the majority of the people in this world need to think about, right? Simply try to understimulate yourself for the next 7 days and see how it goes. 7 days is a long time. Let's try 3 days. Let's try 1 day. Let's try half a day. Some people, let's try sitting down for half an hour. It's hard. I will lie to you, it is hard, but it's something you need to do. The people that are going to be successful, again, I've taken this from that video, are the people that self-regulate themselves. But it's the same message I'm trying to tell you, right? And I said this before, discipline. You need to be able to say no to things you want to do. When I was doing this 2-week exam, like prep for a module that I had to resit, I was so focused on this module. I was allowing myself to indulge in things I wouldn't normally indulge in. So for me, that's snacks. I don't like to eat unhealthy, but I had a packet of crisps, like a big packet of sensations, and I loved it. Since I finished my exam, not indulging any of that. And I also had a Ferrero Rocher the night before. See, I was picking where my dopamine's coming from as I wasn't going to the gym, and I was just so laser focused with this one thing, which sometimes you have to do. But now that's finished, my whole goal is to reset the dopamine system, try and sit by myself as much as I can, and basically get back into my old habits, which are the habits of this channel. Now, I've already said all the action steps, but I want to highlight the definition one last time. Addiction is the progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. The goal for us now is to understimulate ourselves, so therefore we can let our dopamine receptors breathe, okay? And therefore we will eventually feel happier from a larger range of things, which is going to give us a better quality of life. As always, you've got the action steps, so I will see you at the next one.